My name is Elena Marsh. I am 34 years old and I work in finance. That means I spend most of my life reading patterns, numbers, risk, timing, and small warning signs before they turn into real problems. Funny thing is, in my own relationship, I ignored every single one of them. Adam and I had been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. We had already booked the wedding venue. We had paid the deposits. The guest list was almost done. From the outside, we looked like 2 grown adults building a life together. From the inside, I was the only one holding the whole thing up, while he kept testing how much weight it could take before it broke. He was charming. That was the problem. When we first met, his confidence pulled me in. He was funny, easygoing, spontaneous. Everything I wasn't. I was the organized one, the careful one, the responsible one, according to him. At first he said that like it was a compliment. Later he said it like it was something wrong with me. You plan everything, he told me once at dinner, swirling his wine like he was judging me. Sometimes I feel like I'm dating a planner, not a person. Everyone at the table laughed. I smiled too because that's what I always did. Smile. Say nothing. Tell myself it wasn't worth an argument. But the comments kept getting sharper. My job was boring. My life was too safe. Apparently my idea of romance was just paying bills on time. He started bringing up his ex, Melissa, way more than any engaged man should. Melissa was creative. Melissa understood freedom. Melissa didn't make life feel like a spreadsheet. I should have caught the warning right there. Instead, I kept telling myself he was just stressed, that every relationship has rough seasons. That marriage would finally settle him down. We lived together in an apartment I mostly paid for: rent, utilities, groceries, car insurance, his phone plan, the streaming subscriptions, even the gym membership he swore he'd start using next Monday. He'd chip in when freelance work was good, which wasn't often, and even then he'd complain about feeling trapped by money. I carried it anyway because I thought that's what partners do. I didn't realize the difference between supporting someone and being used by them. Looking back, things really started slipping about 9 months before that text. He started coming home late, taking calls in the hallway, guarding his phone like it held state secrets. When I asked if something was wrong, he'd kiss my forehead and say, "You worry too much." I let that line slide more times than I should have. Then came the Wednesday that changed everything. I was at my desk in the middle of a normal workday when my phone lit up. One text from Adam. "I'm with someone better now. Deal with it." I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Not from shock, that's the strange part. Somewhere underneath all my excuses, part of me already knew. What actually surprised me was how careless it was. For years, ended in a message that sounded like he was canceling a dinner reservation. My fingers moved before my brain caught up. Me finally. Then I flipped my phone face down. I didn't call him. I didn't cry in the office bathroom. I didn't rush home for an explanation. I didn't even ask if it was Melissa because obviously it was Melissa. Instead, I opened my laptop. The first thing I did was reroute my direct deposit. Then I checked our shared checking account and pulled out only what was legally mine, leaving enough to cover anything already pending. Clean. Documented. No drama. Then came the phone plan. His line was under my name, so I canceled it. His service died a few hours later. I logged him out of every streaming account, downgraded the cloud storage, removed his card from the grocery delivery app. The gym membership froze the moment his temporary access failed. I closed the emergency credit card. Then the car insurance, the policy was in my name, he was just a listed driver. Removed. I changed every password tied to my identity. Banking, email, utilities, subscriptions, every little thing that had quietly made his life easier while he called mine too structured. I didn't lock him out of the apartment. That would have been messy, and I don't do messy when clean is an option. I packed a bag, grabbed my important documents, and drove to my friend Claire's place. On the way, I stopped for coffee I never actually tasted and a sandwich I don't remember ordering. That night, the texts started rolling in. Why isn't my phone working? My card just got declined. Are you seriously being this petty? I watched each message land and something inside me went very calm. Not numb, clear. He wasn't asking why we were over. He wasn't apologizing. He wasn't panicking about losing me. He was panicking about losing access. By morning the tone had shifted completely. Calls from unknown numbers. Emails accusing me of financial abuse. Messages saying I was overreacting, that I was proving his point that real adults talk things through instead of shutting everything down. Adults apparently don't end 4-year engagements by text either, but somehow he skipped that part. On day 3, a voicemail came in from a number I didn't recognize. A calm professional voice. Ms. Marsh, my name is Robert Hale. I represent Adam Cole regarding a domestic financial dispute. I'd appreciate a chance to discuss shared assets and the sudden withdrawal of financial support. Played it twice. Not because I was scared, because I wanted to make sure I heard it right. Shared assets. Financial support. Interesting choice of words for two people who were never married. I called back on my lunch break. Ms. Marsh, he said, warm and professional. Thank you for returning my call. What exactly are we discussing? I asked. My client believes several financial arrangements ended abruptly after your engagement broke down. We were never married, I said. A short pause. I understand. There was no joint mortgage? Correct. No property held jointly? Correct. No written agreement requiring you to continue supporting him financially? Another pause. No. Every account I closed belonged to me. Every payment came from my income. Every subscription was in my name. He cleared his throat. My client feels he's now in a financially unstable position. I imagine he is, I said. Silence. I'd like to understand the legal basis for this call. I added. That question changed everything. His confident tone disappeared. He started talking about mediation, about keeping communication amicable and in writing. Then he mentioned Adam felt blindsided. I almost laughed. Your client sent me a text ending our engagement while telling me he'd gone back to his ex-girlfriend. My response was separating my finances from his. Where exactly is the legal issue? He didn't have an answer. The call lasted under 4 minutes. The moment it ended, I opened a fresh document and wrote everything down. The date, the time, the exact wording of his text, the minute I rerouted my paycheck, every account closed, every screenshot, every receipt. Then I emailed the whole file to myself so it carried an independent timestamp. Finance teaches you one thing people underestimate. If the paper trail exists before the fight starts, you usually win it. That evening Adam emailed me. No insults this time. He tried the soft approach. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I was emotional. I assumed we'd talk it out. I didn't literally mean deal with it. Every sentence carefully rewritten, like changing the words could undo the message. Then came the part that actually made me stop reading. He listed his expenses. Rent. Utilities. His phone bill. Groceries. Gas. Health insurance. Even his monthly therapy sessions. At the bottom, I just need temporary support until I get back on my feet. Temporary support. It sat on my screen like an invoice someone forgot to delete before hitting send. I read it twice. Not once did he apologize for cheating. Not once did he ask how I was doing. The entire email was about keeping the lifestyle I'd been funding. That's when it clicked for real. For months I'd been treating this relationship like a partnership going through a rough patch. He'd been treating it like infrastructure. I wasn't his fiancé anymore, I was his operating budget. I replied with exactly 3 sentences. Our engagement is over. There will be no further financial support. Please direct any future communication through your attorney. Then I blocked his number. Less than an hour later, his lawyer called again. This time with a lot less confidence. The follow-up email had no demands, only questions. Was Adam's name on the lease? No. Did I ever promise continued support in writing? No. Were the wedding deposits refundable? Partially. Did we own any property together? No. He wasn't building a case anymore. He was checking if one even existed. It didn't. Around then, Adam managed to message me through a mutual friend's account. You've ruined my life. You've turned into someone I don't even recognize. Real people don't abandon someone they love. I stared at it. Interesting. 3 days earlier he told me to deal with it. Now he wanted to lecture me about loyalty. I took a screenshot, blocked the account, and moved on. People show you exactly who they are the moment reality stops matching the story in their head. The next evening while he was out, I went back to the apartment. It felt oddly peaceful. His shoes by the door, his mug still in the sink, our engagement photos still sitting on the shelf. For a second I remembered the day those photos were taken. We looked happy. Or maybe we just looked hopeful. Hope photographs well. Reality doesn't. I packed only what was mine: documents, my laptop, my grandmother's jewelry, some clothes, a few books. Before leaving, I walked through every room recording a video on my phone. Everything untouched. Everything exactly where I'd left it. Proof. Not because I expected trouble, because by then, being careful had become a habit. I set my key on the counter. No note, no goodbye speech. Just silence. The next morning, his lawyer emailed again, asking about mediation. I declined. There was nothing to mediate, no marriage, no shared property, no future. Only logistics. A couple hours later came Adam's last real email before I blocked that address too. Long, bitter, calling me cold and vindictive, insisting Melissa would never treat him the way I had. That line almost made me smile. Melissa had walked out on him once before. History has a way of repeating itself. What struck me most wasn't what he wrote. It was what he never wrote. Not once did he say I'm sorry. The consequences kept rolling in on their own. First, an automatic rent reminder he forwarded to me immediately. Rent's due tomorrow. What are you doing? I did nothing. For the first time in years, I understood something that had been hidden the whole relationship. Sometimes silence is the clearest answer you can give. A mutual friend called a couple days later, sounding awkward. Hey, Adam wanted me to ask if you accidentally took him off the car insurance. Roadside assistance says he's not covered anymore. I didn't do it accidentally, I said. That was the whole conversation. Word spread fast, not because I told anyone, but because he did. He started calling mutual friends, telling them I'd snapped, that I'd suddenly become obsessed with money. He conveniently left out the text. He conveniently forgot to mention Melissa. Within a week, vague posts started showing up on social media. Some people only love you when they can control you. Never let anyone use finances as a weapon. Healing means walking away from toxic people. Comments full of sympathy poured in. I read exactly one post, then closed the app. People who need an audience usually go quiet when nobody's watching. One friend, though, reached out privately. I don't want to take sides, she wrote. I just want to know if you're okay. Unlike everyone else, she asked about me before asking for the gossip. So I sent her one screenshot. His original text. Nothing else. 5 minutes later she replied, I'm so sorry. That was it. Sometimes the truth doesn't need much explaining. About 10 days after everything started, my mom called, her voice careful. Honey, Adam emailed me. He says you're refusing to talk to him. He says you're being unnecessarily harsh. I took a breath and walked her through it all calmly, start to finish. I read her his original text. I listed every account that had only ever been mine. When I finished, she went quiet for a moment, then sighed. Your father would have been proud of you. That sentence hit harder than anything Adam had said in 3 years. A week later, one final email from his lawyer arrived. Short, no mention of shared assets, no demands, just a note that his client would not be pursuing the matter further. That was the closest anyone got to admitting the truth. After that, the noise stopped completely. No more calls, no more messages through friends, no more posts. At first the quiet felt strange. Then it felt like relief. I noticed I'd go hours without checking my phone, not because I was forcing myself to, but because there was nothing left to brace for. No argument waiting. No hidden criticism buried in a normal conversation. Just peace. 3 weeks later, I officially canceled the wedding. I lost close to $8,000 in deposits, venue, catering, photography, flowers. Money I'll never see again. Friends kept telling me how awful that must feel, and honestly it did sting. But losing $8,000 hurt a lot less than spending the next 20 years funding someone who thought I existed to make his life comfortable. One loss has a ceiling. The other doesn't. I moved into a smaller apartment closer to work. Nothing fancy. But everything in it was chosen by me, paid for by me and mine. About a month later, on a rainy evening, I was walking home and saw a familiar shape across the street. Adam. He crossed over fast. Elena, please. 5 minutes. I kept walking. I just want to explain, he said, keeping pace beside me. There's nothing left to explain. You owe me that much. I stopped and turned to face him. No, I don't. He blinked, almost confused. You can't just throw away 4 years without even talking about it. You already ended it. In one text. I was angry. I never thought you'd actually leave. For the first time in this entire mess, he said something completely honest. He never expected consequences. He expected me to cry, negotiate, forgive him, and keep paying like nothing happened. He built his whole future on the assumption that I'd never actually walk away. When I did, that entire plan fell apart. I made a mistake, he said quietly. I know that now. We can fix this. No. You still love me. I thought about that for a second, then said, I love the person I thought you were. His shoulders dropped. I wasn't trying to hurt you. You did anyway. I softened my voice just slightly. I hope your life gets better, Adam. But it won't be because of me. He reached for my arm. I stepped back before he could touch me. Standing there in the rain, he looked smaller than I remembered, not physically, just smaller. All that confidence was gone. In its place was someone finally feeling the weight of his own choices. Cold, he muttered one last time, shaking his head. I smiled gently this time. No, I'm just no longer available. Then I walked into my building without looking back. That night, a text came in from an unknown number. I never thought you'd actually leave. I read it once and deleted it without replying. Months have passed since then. Adam and Melissa didn't last long. Apparently, relationships built on someone else's unfinished business rarely hold together. I never reached out to her, never blamed her for any of it. He made his choices. I made mine. People sometimes ask if I regret shutting everything down so fast. I don't. What I regret is how long I mistook patience for self-sacrifice. I ignored every warning sign because ending things felt harder than just enduring them. It wasn't. The hardest part was never leaving. It was finally admitting I needed to. These days I wake up in a quiet apartment. My finances are healthy. My evenings are calm. Nobody criticizes how I live. Nobody makes me feel guilty for being responsible. Nobody mistakes my kindness for an unlimited bank account. Adam once called me cold. Maybe I was. But cold isn't the opposite of love, entitlement is. He thought he could end our future and still keep everything that future had been paying for. He didn't lose that support because I wanted revenge. He lost it because the relationship it depended on didn't exist anymore. Consequences aren't punishment. They're just reality catching up to someone's choices. And sometimes the strongest word you'll ever say is the one you never take back. If you've ever had someone mistake your kindness for weakness, tell me in the comments. Would you have answered his text? Or stayed completely silent?